Welcome, Fit Family. Today we're going to be cooking garlic eggplant with chicken. I love this recipe. It's so delicious. Foolproof. I'm going to say it's a foolproof recipe. I actually got it from this woman. I'm going to throw her up on the screen. This was like the entire inspiration for this recipe. I pretty much just added chicken. But anyway, let's get into the ingredients. You're going to need, in no particular order, fish sauce, garlic salt, soy sauce, eggplant, ginger, olive oil, sesame seed oil, and canned chicken. You're also gonna need a cutting knife to cut the eggplant. You're gonna need a teaspoon, a tablespoon, a cutting board, and a quarter teaspoon, and a saucepan. So getting into the actual cutting of the vegetable, there's really not much to it. I just cut off the top and then I dice it up. So, if you've never cut it, if you've never cut an eggplant before, I guess I advise you to go lengthwise first. The pieces that you cut, you might want to cut them a bit bigger than the actual pieces that you want by the end of the cooking process, because eggplants do cook down quite a bit. Otherwise, I really have nothing to say. It's just cutting an eggplant. So now we're moving to the stove. As you know, I like high heat, so you can put it on the highest heat that you feel like. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of olive oil to the pan and allow it to heat up. 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons to the pan. 2 tablespoons to the pan. Listen, the ingredient list and the directions are all in the description below. So, if I mess up on audio, I probably corrected myself elsewhere, just FYI. So as we wait for this oil to heat up, once it's actually heated up, probably took maybe a minute or 2 or less, I'm gonna check the heat of the oil by just placing an eggplant in there, and you can see that the eggplant is bubbling and reacting with the hot oil, so that lets you know that it's ready to go. You don't necessarily have to wait for it to get hot, but it's in good practice, I would say. So I'm gonna add all my eggplant. I would also add that it's really important to mix it up well, because you don't want the bottom eggplant to be soaked with oil and then the top eggplant devoid of oil. You really want to mix it up well. I mix a lot of my food really, really well because you just want everything to be incorporated evenly. Next up we have, garlic salt, or maybe this is onion powder. Wow, I don't even know. I think this is garlic salt. So we're adding garlic salt. I think in total I added 3/4 a teaspoon. You just saw half a teaspoon there, but in total I feel like I added 3/4 a teaspoon. And you want to mix it up really well. The salt will help draw out the oil from the eggplant, and I believe that will help it cook faster. Okay, so here is where I made a mistake. I don't even know why I did this because I'm pretty sure I never did this before. I never added ginger so early, but when you're filming while cooking, you do a lot of weird stuff. So I would not advise you to add the ginger so early because since the eggplant takes so long to cook and it's not really cooking in a lot of oil, the ginger ended up just kind of, I don't want to say full on burning on the pan, but it just kind of cooked in a pan in the way that I wouldn't have liked. So I would recommend adding the ginger much later in the process, maybe after you add the chicken. As soon as I put in the ginger, I knew I made a mistake, and I ended up adding the chicken a lot earlier, which really wasn't a bad thing. Overall, the meal, the recipe didn't really suffer from adding ginger so early, but I really would recommend you adding ginger later in the process. I just didn't really feel like re-recording because it's a lot. These videos are a lot, I'll have you know. But yeah, here I'm just mixing. It does take a long time to cook garlic. That's why it never makes it into the 15 minutes or less playlist. Even though the eggplant recipes never make it into 15 minutes or less. But yeah, so I'm gonna drain my chicken really quickly and then add it to the pan, as you'll see. So the moisture from the chicken will help counteract the fact that the ginger is, I really don't want to say being burnt, but it's just like dry cooking, you know what I mean? It's kind of getting burnt on the pan because there's no oil, there's no moisture. The moisture is in the eggplant, but it takes a while to get it out. So the chicken is kind of helping to counteract that. So if you do end up, adding your ginger a little too early, I would recommend adding the ginger after the eggplant is fully cooked, because when the eggplant is fully cooked, it's just moist all around and more tender. And by that point, you won't even need to cook the dish much longer. So, and if you really like the taste of ginger, you can even add it at the very end after the cooking process is done. And here you see me adding, another 1/4 teaspoon of garlic salt. I think that's the end of the garlic salt. So yeah, now we're just mixing and cooking. So normally I would just kind of skip over this clip and just kind of fast forward to the next thing that you have to do. But I just want to reinforce the fact that eggplant takes just a little bit of time to cook, just a little bit of time. I didn't want to fast forward and make it seem like it cooked in 2 minutes and then you're wondering why yours is taking 10 minutes. It really kind of takes 10 minutes to cook. I've already skipped through so many scenes. But I'm just kind of testing for tenderness. You also don't have to harass your eggplant like this. You don't have to constantly stir it. But again, I skipped through so many scenes where I straight up left the kitchen and did other things because it was still cooking. So yeah, I'm just kind of testing the eggplant. I think at this point, the eggplant was pretty much done enough. There was just one big piece that was taking a while, so I let it go. I just said, whatever. I think I just touched it too, but for the most part, it was good enough. So I turned off the heat, and now I'm gonna add the rest of my seasonings. I forget how much everything is. I think, I don't know, it might have been like 2 teaspoons sesame seed oil. I started with fish sauce, so it was 1 teaspoon fish sauce. Yeah, I'm remembering now. 1 teaspoon of fish sauce, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, and 2 teaspoons of sesame seed oil. The fish sauce, it doesn't really come out very easily, but it's not the end of the world. You just gotta shake it a little. So yeah, this dish, honestly one of my favorites. I think it's very easy, and I really feel like it stood the test of time because I made a lot of these recipes months ago, literally. And now I'm remaking them and filming them. And I haven't really been making all of them in the meantime because I just think of new recipes and I just want to eat that instead. So sometimes when I go back to the old recipes, I'm like, oh wow, this doesn't taste the way it did originally. I wonder what happened. But this one tastes just as good. Even though I messed up with the ginger in the beginning, it still tastes really good. And I think it's healthy. I mean, you're eating a whole eggplant, you're eating chicken. There's not a lot of sugar involved. I'm not really a fan of sugar at all. I don't know if you could be an anti-fan of something. I wouldn't say I'm a hater of sugar because I think I have a legitimate reason to not like sugar, so. Anyway, that is the garlic eggplant with chicken dish. Always taste your food to make sure it tastes the way it's supposed to taste. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this dish. Comment what you think, especially if you actually made it. Like, share, subscribe. I'm gonna pull out the price per meal breakdown in just a second. And yeah, have a nice day.